facing the police every single day.
Traced. If we trace it, it'll go back to McDonald's. So, you know, there are a lot of different things that they can do to get around that order. One of the things is cell phone monitoring, caller ID spoofing. Man, I wish I had more time. Normally, with caller ID spoofing, what that is I have an app on my cell phone. I can put in your phone number, and I can put in a phone number of someone that's in your cell phone, and when your phone rings from me, it will show the other person come up. That's it. Well, you know what? Does anybody want to help?
I'll do it.
Can you say that again, sir? Explain it.
Actually, I will just show you because it's a lot easier that way. It's called, it's a free app, caller ID faking. Who wants to help? Do you have someone in your cell phone that has a picture when their phone number, when that pops up on the phone ring?
Yes.
Okay. What is your phone number? Okay. Do you know the other phone number? Yeah, I know me either. I know my wife's phone number. That's the only phone I know. So it'd be so bad if I lost my phone. What's his number?
315
Mm-hmm.
242
Okay. Okay. So what I did is I put in his phone number under number to call, and I put his son's number under fake caller ID. And then I hit done, and then I hit call. And it's calling a number out of Arizona, and his phone will ring and his son's picture will pop up. No service. No service. Does anybody have service?
She does.
Oh, but I
Yeah.
I can't help you, I don't have anybody who's.
Oh, okay.
I have service.
All right, what's your number?
941
Uh-huh.
270 0035.
And what's the other person's number?
16 999 7735.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, I'm going to call you and her number will pop up on the caller ID.
It doesn't have a picture, but it's got her phone number.
Okay. So if you could show her number showed up, because my phone's an 850 number out of Tallahassee. So right now it's showing that your friend is calling you.
Yeah.
So if you answer it, go ahead and answer it. Hello? Hey.
That's you?
That's me. But now, when we disconnect, look in your recent calls and tell me who's the last person to call you. It's going to be her friend.
It's her phone number.
So if someone calls you harassing you using this app and you call law enforcement and show them your phone, can't follow it because her number showed up. That's caller ID spoofing. They can also do it with text messages. And if they pull the records from the phone company, it's going to look like she called. And then if you say I'm your suspect and they come and look at my phone, I didn't call her. The only person I called last was a 321 number in Florida. And before that it was in Arizona. There's no record of me calling her. Because your phone number, your phone call will go through their servers. They'll attach the other caller ID, the other phone number as caller ID when it calls you. Have you ever gotten a phone call from some of these people trying to sell you something with your area code?
Or yourself.
All the time. That's exactly what they're doing. They're using your area code and usually the first 3 digits of your actual phone number and then the last 4 digits of whoever else. So you look at it and go, oh, it's local, maybe I know them, and you'll answer the phone. That's caller ID spoofing. Unfortunately, suspects are now learning this, and like I said, free app. I didn't pay a dime for it. All I had to do was go in and watch a couple videos, and you get minutes added to the app. It's as easy as that. And then there's really no record that the suspect called.
Why would that app exist? For the criminals?
For fun. It's put out there as, have fun with your friends, you'd be surprised. Yeah. Cell phone spyware. There's spyware out there that can be installed on a cell phone. They actually have to have access to the cell phone, but only for maybe about a minute or two to download the software. And then what it does is it runs in the background. You can't even tell the app's on the phone. Everything you do on your cell phone will go to a website, and then the suspect, all he has to do is log in, and there's all this information. You got your location history. They'll get every email you sent, every text message you sent, incoming, outgoing phone calls. Anything you do on your cell phone, they'll have access to it. Yes, ma'am?
Any idea if they have to have your security code to do that?
They have to have access to your phone. So if it's an intimate partner situation, normally they know each other's passwords to their phones. So, if say the suspect finds the survivor's phone, say she's in the shower, like I said, what he does is they go to the website on a computer and they set up the account, and then all they do is when they get the phone, they go to that website, type in their number, and download an app, and you can't even find it on the phone. It's not going to be listed anywhere on the home screen. The only thing you're going to notice is you're going to have usually power drain, because for every text message you sent, it's also sending one to the website. So there's going to be a lot of power drain going on. The computer or the phone's going to run a lot slower. But like I said, they have access to everything you do on your cell phone. And one thing about cell phones is they keep track of everything you do. Really, the only way to delete everything on the phone is either to factory reset it, or do what we call do a Tom Brady, where you break it in half and smash it with a hammer before you give it to the NFL. As you can tell, I'm not a Patriots fan, sorry.
Sorry, Jim.
Are you a Patriots fan? Well, you know what, at least they're in the playoffs, unlike the Dolphins. Not sure if they'll ever make it again. But like I said, with these apps, there's a couple of them out there. They usually charge $30 to $40 a month access fee. But like I said, if someone really wants to track you or know everything that you're doing or everything that the intimate partner's doing, it'd be worth $30, $40 to them. This can be considered illegal. It could be a violation of the Wire Fraud Act. So, it all depends on how it's spun. The problem with, yes ma'am?
And how, if you would suspect that somebody had done that to you, how would you find it on your phone?
You could take the phone to law enforcement, and they could download the phone using some type of forensic software like Celebrate, and it should come up there. I know some people will take it to their local T-Mobile store, Verizon store, but chances are they're probably not going to find it. They'll probably just say, well, your phone's running slow, so what we'll do is we'll sell you a new cell phone for $1,000, and we'll transfer everything over to your new phone. But what happens? Spyware gets transferred over too. So, I would say if it's suspected, get with your local law enforcement agency and see if they can download the phone for you. See if that's something they can do. Anybody use family location apps? I know I did mine when I had kids. When my kids were younger, I put it on their phones. Bad part about that is I can see where they're at, but they can also see where you're at. So, I think my daughter, oh, you came in at 11 last night. Well, Dad, you came in at 2:30 the other morning. all right, let's remember who's a those can also be used by a suspect. Like I said, if you're in an intimate partner relationship with someone for a long time, chances are you know their passwords. If you don't, you could probably figure them out. Most people are creatures of habit. If you know one of my passwords, you know them all, because I have too many accounts to have 15 different passwords, or like on the computer, when I have to change it every 90 days, just the number at the end goes up. I don't have time to sit there, or a lot of people write them down and leave them right there by the computer. So. Anybody ever have Google? Well, is everybody retired here? Okay, so you probably don't have Google until you have 15 minutes to get to work then when you're walking out the door. I was retired for 2 weeks and couldn't stand it, so I had to get with, back to FCADV. But what Google does is Google will track your movements, and it stores all that information. So if you take the same route every day, going to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, going to work and then coming back home that afternoon, when you get ready to leave the house, it will actually look at the traffic patterns for you, and it will see if there's an accident, if it's going to take you longer, and give you an alternate route. Like I said, one of the things I always like to talk about in presentations is a lot of these things were made to help us, but where an application was made to help somebody, someone has taken that application and turned it against them. This is just talking about turning off your location history. You can turn that setting off in Google Maps. I actually turned that off on my work phone because I don't really want them to know exactly when I get to places.
Yeah.
So, you can turn that location history off. The bad thing is if you turn it off, one thing I found out, I went, I think, to Miami, checked into the hotel, went somewhere, and then pulled up my phone to go back to the hotel in Miami, and it wasn't there because the location was turned off. So, once again, good things, bad things. If you feel someone is stalking you or following you, this would be a good thing to do, because if they've gotten into your Google Plus account or know your Google password, they can have this email to them every month. Has anybody ever gotten one of these emails from Google saying, hey, this is the places you've been in the last month? I got one probably about 1.5 years ago, and it freaked me out. That's when I realized that this location history, I mean, it's old. Everywhere I've been for the past month, and it sent me a map. So, like I said, it kind of freaked me out. But
Would
that's...
that also be good though for prosecution?
It could. This would be great for prosecution if, say, we have a suspect who was stalking someone and following them around, and there was enough evidence to get the phone and download it, we could get all this information. Or they could do a subpoena or a search warrant to Google and get that kind of information. So yeah, I mean, it was used for a good thing, the suspect could use it for a bad thing, but then law enforcement could turn around and use that same information against the suspect. So, it kind of goes both ways. Okay, so there's it. It will take you 16 minutes to get to work. GPS and location. GPS trackers, in the old days, I say in the old days when I started at the sheriff's office in '90, they were, this big, had 4 big magnets, we slap them under a car. Now, I saw you looking at your watch, you must have a smartwatch or a tracker. GPS is in everything. Cell phones, watches, a lot of cars have GPS. Also, a lot of people don't know, if you buy a used car, an older car, from some of these smaller automotive places, they'll actually install a GPS in your car. That way, if you don't pay your bill, they'll turn it on and they know exactly where you're at, so they can come get the car.
That's legal?
It's legal, because they technically still own the car because it's not paid for yet. If it's a buy here, pay here place, there's a good chance there's probably a GPS in that car that you bought. Usually they're not active because they have to pay for that if it's active, but if you don't pay your bill for a couple months, they'll definitely activate it and come take your car in the middle of the night. So, GPSs now are getting smaller and smaller. You can buy a GPS, the tracker, it's about the size of a quarter. So if, say, a survivor is being followed by the suspect, they could have one of these devices anywhere on the vehicle. Some of the suspects, what they would do if they had small children that they would transfer back and forth with a car seat, you could hide one of these in a car seat. Probably never find it unless you really tore the car seat apart, and know exactly where the survivor was at all times because of the tracker. Some of them, they plug into the computer console under the dashboard. They use those to give you information on the car, is your car acting right, is your warning lights come on. A lot of companies use them. A lot of people buy them for their kids because they can tell the speed they were going, was there a quick brake or a quick acceleration. Like I said, those of us were teenagers, that would have been great when mine was a teenager. But, once again, it's GPS. So if they have access to the car, they can plug it in, come back in a week or two, unplug it, plug it into their computer, and see everywhere that car's been. They now have them where it looks like it's actually a charging cord for your cell phone. So a survivor, if she's at the suspect's house trading kids, the cord on my cell phone went out, I gotta buy a new one. Oh, here, just take mine. And it's a GPS. So all he does is get access to it, and he can pull out the little SD card and figure out everywhere that that car's been for however long. Geotagging. On your cell phones, there is information. It's called EXIF data. In every digital photo that's taken, there can be location, there can be the camera type, the cell phone type, and all that information. Has anybody ever heard of that? Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a picture of the audience, because I have it turned on this phone. And then all you do is go to details, and it will give the exact location where this photo was taken. So now if, say, I upload this photo or I email it to somebody, they know all they have to do is take this photo and drop it in a free app that you can get, and it will tell you exactly where the photo was taken. This came about in about 2010. Guy by the name of Adam Savage was a TV star. He took a photo of his Jeep in front of his house and said, "Oh, I'm going to work on my new Jeep." About 2 hours later, he had a bunch of fans at his house. And that's when they said, "Oh yeah, man, the photo you took and posted on Facebook, yeah, we just put it in this free program and we got your address." So the large companies now like Facebook, Instagram, when you upload a photo, they scrub all that data off of it. So if that data is on the picture initially, once it gets to Facebook, it's all taken off. Now smaller companies, Snapchat, some of the smaller messaging apps, that information is probably still there. So you either get to that information through the actual camera app. With mine, I just go to the camera app, and there's that little like wheel at the top, and then you just scroll down to location tags. For some reason, whenever you buy a cell phone, it's always on. So this is the first thing I do with my personal cell phone, is I go into that app and I turn it off. With iPhones, I think you have to actually go into settings. I am. iPhone? If you go into settings under your phone app, it's either under phone app or location, you should be able to turn that off. Yeah. Location services, and go to camera and turn it off. If you don't know how to do it, all you have to do is Google, turn off location services or geotag to whatever kind of phone you have, put that in Google, and it will pop up and show you how to do it. This is just a photo I took for another class to show that, with this kind of stuff on, it tells you exactly where you're at. Surveillance. Back in the day, you had the big surveillance cameras everywhere. Now everything is pinhole camera. I could be wearing a pinhole camera in a pin, have it in my pocket, walking around, video recording everybody, and you'd never even know it. They come in teddy bears, phones, clock radios. So one of the things that we like to tell advocates to talk to survivors about is, if you receive a gift from the suspect, make sure you check it, no matter what it is. Because cameras nowadays, like I said, in the little pinholes, if you weren't looking for it, you'd never even see it. Sometimes if you are looking for it, you're never going to see it because they're so small. Especially if you have bad eyesight like I do. But, have them check for that stuff. If they're not sure, then they need to get rid of it, if they feel they're being stalked or pursued by a suspect. Can come in the little cell phone charger you plug into the wall. A lot of them some of them are Wi-Fi enabled, so that way they can send a picture through Wi-Fi. So if he's down the street, if the suspect's down the street, they can get that feed live. Some of them have an SD card in them that will hold information a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And all they have to do is, when the survivor's at work, break into the house, change out SD cards, and now they can see everything that's happened in the house for the past couple of weeks. Most of them nowadays, they don't record unless there's movement, they're movement activated. So they're only going to report if somebody's in the house. So, social media. See, we got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat. Does everybody know about Snapchat? Everybody heard about Snapchat? Snapchat is basically, you can send a photo and have it disappear within like 8 to 10 seconds when you send it to someone. It used to be, if you took a screenshot of it, they'd never know, but now they have that in there where if someone takes a screenshot of a picture in Snapchat, it will alert the other person, but by then it's too late. Or if you have a second phone, just take a picture of it. The unfortunate part is, kids nowadays, 5, 6 years ago, they'll send, risque photos like that, and thinking, oh, they're only going to see it for 5 or 6 seconds, and it's going to disappear. Like I told my kids, anybody come in contact with, once it hits the internet, it's there forever. You could go on 2 minutes later and delete it. Somebody's already seen it. Somebody's already screen captured it. There's also sites out there that will actually store the historical data. You can go into the site and basically look up, what was on YouTube in 2017 on September 8th. And it will pull up all the videos, pull up all the information that was on there. Because that's what they're doing screen grabs of all that information. This is another video we don't really have time for. Using social media to stalk and harass. If you think somebody is stalking you, if you take photos, don't include any type of identifying landmarks. There are programs out there where you can take a photo with an unknown landmark, drop it in, and it will tell you what that landmark is and where the photo was taken, even without the data. It reads the photo and it has a database of probably billions of images, and it will compare it that quickly to find out where that landmark is. You don't want to check in somewhere. A lot of people on Facebook like to check in. I'm here, like to take photos of what they're eating, hanging out with friends, get tagged in photos by other friends. You want to make sure they avoid that. The unfortunate part is, when you have a survivor and a suspect, sometimes the survivor has to take steps to limit their exposure. And unfortunately, that may be to, we're not saying stay off the internet, we're not saying to stay out of Facebook. There are some survivors who actually tell us that they will go onto their suspect's website or their Facebook page, see what kind of mood they're in. If the suspect's in a bad mood that morning, then they know they're probably going to catch it either later on by a phone call, text messages, or something like that. So, they use that for their own safety. But we also want them to be cognizant of what they're doing and the information they're putting out there, so somebody can't follow them or stalk them or harass them. You want to be careful also on Facebook. My wife was notorious for this. Someone would send her a friend request and she'd accept it. And I'm like, I had to finally tell her, don't do that. We had to go in, delete everybody she didn't know because she thought, oh, I'm going to be popular. No, it's just, if you're friends with someone and you've blocked a stalker and the stalker becomes friends with your friends, they can see what you're doing just through that friendship. So you have to be very careful if you're in that situation of who you allow in, even close friends. Because like I said, if they're friends with the stalker, if they're like my wife, she'll definitely accept their friend request. And then now they can see everything, not everything, but they have access to your page too and can see what you're doing, where you're going, when you're out with friends, and things of that nature. So is a survivor who does not use social media safer than a survivor who does? Not necessarily. Like I said earlier, a lot of survivors will use that just to gauge the mood that their stalker is in, which is a good thing. If you're ever in a situation with stalking, this is an incident log. If you grab one of the books back there, they're in the back, there's several pages of them. If you have a friend that you feel may be in a stalking situation, give them the book, have them contact the sheriff's office. The bad thing about technology is advancing way faster than the laws that can keep up with them. When I started my career, if I worked a stalking case, it was because someone left a note on someone's car, put a note in the mailbox, sent them a note through mail. Now, as you saw in the video earlier, that guy was harassing and threatening to kill her. He could have been on the other side of the country, but the victim doesn't know that. They don't know where this person is. This person could be around the corner, as we saw in the one video. He was out there and she drove by, didn't even see him. So, Some of the safety planning techniques, turn off the location services for GPS. I recommend that anyway, especially with kids. As we all know, kids are notorious for taking selfies and posting them online somewhere. If they have that location service on, you could have the predator out there that could get that photo if it's through the right service and find out exactly where they live. Don't post photographs of a new residence or their neighborhood. Be careful about posting locations when they're out shopping or eating or hanging out with friends. And don't answer calls with unknown numbers. You know, as we saw earlier, it could be a known number and it could still be somebody stalking you, and there's really no record that it happened. But definitely, if you don't know the number coming in, even if it's a local number, I would recommend not even answering it. Chances are it's a telemarketer. Don't answer known numbers if they call at unusual times. And be mindful of any new electronics or presence that come from the offender. As we saw, there can be a GPS chip in it, there can be a pinhole camera in it. And once again, if their phone is using more data or batteries draining quickly, let a professional review it for spyware. Because like I said, with spyware, you're not even going to find it in your apps list. You have to, there are certain keystrokes you have to do on the cell phone, and then it will bring the spyware up. So just by looking through it, you're not going to find it. And once again, educate yourself with technology. I know I ran through this very quickly. Normally this is about a 3 or 4 hour presentation. If you have any questions, you can contact the Sheriff's Office, contact Billy, contact Ms. Wilkie. Yes, sir.
Yeah, on the internet part, okay, what if it's not a domestic? I'm a reporter for COPWATCH. I had a cop's wife make a death threat against me and my family on Facebook. What can I do about that?
Contact the Sheriff's Office and have it investigated.
Okay, so that can be a regular investigation, not IA. It can be a regular possible criminal threat.
Well, it depends what the threat was.
Right.
It would only be internal affairs if the actual employee was involved.
He made a comment on it. He liked it.
Like I said, I can't really comment because I don't know everything that's going on. But
Right.
What I recommend is calling the local law enforcement and have it investigated.
All right, fair?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if I missed it or not, but did you talk about how you take a picture with your cell phone, all the information is embedded in
Yeah, and you know, that's one of the location services that we talked about turning off. You know, that's one of the things, for some reason, all cell phones, when they're brand new, they come with that turned on. I don't know why. I wish they would turn it off because, you know, people who don't know about it are taking photos. The way I first found out about it is one of the phones I had several years ago, I was taking photos, and then after about a month, it popped up a map and showed every photo, like in different cities where I was taking them, and I was like, how does it know that? Well, because of the location data. So, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Would having an antivirus on your phone stop that spyware from being applied?
Usually not, because it doesn't see it as a virus, because it's an actual program on the phone. It's just run in a covert manner, which is the way it's supposed to run, so technically the app is running fine, and it's just sending information out. I would recommend a virus program anyway, because you can get viruses from emails if you click a link and go somewhere. But like I said, with the spyware, it's not considered a virus because that's how the app is meant to work. Yes, sir.
Yeah, one of the other reasons why I came here too, I thought Billy was going to touch on it more. Is this kind of turning into Tom Cruise pre-crime where, you know, you're looking at different stuff and you think they might do something in the future? Because they were kind of talking about that on some of their promotion videos, you know, for the new unit. And I know that that's good and bad. I mean, as a quick example, I'll give you, I'm a recovering alcoholic. You know, people thought I was going to die drunk and on drugs. And guess what? I've been sober so long, it's not even ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, you know, that's what the one reason why I came here, to see if he was going to talk about that. You know, is that kind of what's happening? Is that good? Is that bad? I mean, because like people can change. I am the perfect example of that. What's your opinion? I
don't really think it's pre-crime. What we're looking to do is, you know, just like in the video, when someone commits a crime and there's a law against it, they get charged for that. A lot of crimes, when someone's arrested, we have to show the intent that they committed the crime.
Correct.
Just like the guy in the video, his intent wasn't to, mess around, play around with her. His intent was to cause fear in her, and that's what cyber stalking is. That's what stalking is. You have to show that there is an intent to commit fear, and there's no legitimate purpose for what you're doing. Just like in the video, there was no legitimate purpose for the way he was acting, for what he was saying. So that's why it was stalking.
Right. Well, they mentioned in their promo video that they're actually going to start going back to older cases and looking at them to see what happened in that situation. And almost, it sounded to me like go back and almost make something out of nothing, on these older cases that are already done. Like I said, that's one of the reasons why I came here tonight, because the promo video was kind of talking like it was almost pre-crimes. We're going to go back to some of the old stuff and see if we missed something, or maybe we'll make, to me it was almost like make something. I'm sure that going back to some of the old cases, yes, they might have missed something, they might get a, but at the same time, going back to some of these old cases, I think they're almost, starting stuff when it could be fine.
Well, I can't comment on the promo video or what they're
Right.
planning on doing with that. That would be a question you have to ask
Got it.
Charlotte County. Any other questions? All right, well, unfortunately, I've kept you guys 5 minutes past 7:30, but I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. The next one's going to be about autism. So we'll get you the information and invite you again. Alzheimer's. I'm getting that myself.
We knew what you meant.
Yeah, well, I work with the autistic as well, but it is definitely Alzheimer's and dementia. Understanding. Thank you for coming.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH. I am using any video here with under fair use. If you have criticism, reporting, teaching, etc. And please donate. I do not make money from YouTube, and there are different ways to donate in the video links. Thanks.